Welcome, dear listener. You are invited now to settle in, to find a comfortable position, perhaps lying upon your bed or resting in a cozy chair. Close your eyes if you wish. Allow the gentle cradle of your pillow or cushion to support you. Take a breath in and then a long, sighing exhale. With each breath, feel your body soften, your thoughts drifting toward the gentle horizon of rest. Imagine yourself stepping through a low wooden door set in sturdy stone, entering a medieval inn bathed in soft amber light. The lanterns hanging from thick beams cast a mellow, reassuring glow, and the warmth of a crackling hearth reaches out like a familiar friend. The air carries a soothing blend of dried herbs, warm bread, and the faint rustle of woolen blankets. Each sound is quiet, the gentle pop of the fire, the distant murmur of voices, the occasional soft creak of timber settling, all woven together in a gentle symphony for rest. As you cross the threshold, you feel your shoulders release any tension they may carry. The wooden floorboards underfoot are smooth from years of travelers passing over them, yet each step remains gentle. There is no rush here, only the slow, measured companionship of the inn, ready to hold you softly in its timeless rhythms. You find yourself in a wide, open room. A low-set common table is nestled beside cushioned benches, offering an invitation to linger and rest. Behind it, a hearth roars quietly, its embers glowing like tiny lanterns of comfort. The scent of oats and honey drifts from a simmering pot in the corner, promising warmth to the weary traveler. You can imagine the cook's gentle hands, stirring by lantern light, coaxing sweet warmth out of simple grains. Allow yourself to relax further. Imagine slipping out your shoes or sandals and letting warm straw mats cradle your feet. Feel the softness of sandaled toes sinking into straw, leaving behind the weary impressions of the day. This place is free from urgency. Time flows like honey slow, mellow and assured. Look around and take in the textures. The stone walls, cool to the touch, speak of centuries of quiet refuge. The ceiling beams, thick and low, feel protective overhead, connecting you to generations of travelers who once rested here, just like you. Press your cheek gently against the warm wood and sense the faint warmth that lingers from yesterday's embers. There is a softness in every surface, a reassurance that you are safe to rest, to drift. Listen to the hush that fills the air. A few patrons chat in quiet tones over a shared meal. Beside the hearth, a minstrel softly plucks a lute, his melody slow and unhurried, each note designed to soothe. You feel it, a gentle vibration in the air, the kind that sets a distant memory drifting back. A childhood lullaby half remembered, comforting in its familiarity. Let that melody mingle with your breath, each inhale and exhale harmonizing with the rhythm. Stretch your arms slowly as you settle deeper into the chair or bed, imagining the coarse linen of a coverlet unfolding across your lap. It smells of clean linens and the faint breeze that slipped in through the evening window. The fabric is cool at first, then softens as warmth from your body seeps into it. You feel held, supported, and ready to unwind completely. Your thoughts wander in this gentle space. No longer racing, they meander like smoke drifting upward from the hearth. They swirl slowly on gentle currents, softening each edge until they, too, relax and expand into the calm. If your mind drifts to the day's worries, imagine placing them on a small table by the hearth, setting them down and leaving them there. Let this inn offer you refuge, not just from the cold of night, but from the restless hum of concern. Now breathe in rhythm with the fire's sparkle. Inhale Feel the air fill your lungs. Exhale and imagine every part of your body letting go. Your shoulders melt downward. Your back settles. Your legs feel pleasantly heavy. Your focus narrows to this moment, this place, this gentle sanctuary among ancient beams and stone. Beyond the hearth, soft footfalls echo someone approaching to stoke the fire one last time before bed, or to bring fresh water for the morning. These sounds, far from disruptive, are comforting. You are not alone, but you are safe. You are cradled by deliberate, caring routines, by the collective energy of a place built to nurture rest. Each step, each quiet murmur is part of a choreography designed to lull you deeper into comfort. Let your breathing slow to the rhythm of a calm sea. In and out. Feel each breath carry you lower, slower, gentler. In this space, the world outside fades, replaced by the assurance of soft timber, warm hearth, and hushed humanity. This is a place to rest. This is a place to soften. This is a place to drift. Rest for a moment in the glow of the hearth's amber light. Feel the slight warmth on your cheek, like a familiar lullaby sung by fire. Sense the straw beneath you, grounding you to the earth. Hear the low hum of voices, the brush of cloth, the tap of a spoon in a wooden bowl. These are not distractions, they are anchors, each one reminding you that you are part of this comforting tapestry. You belong here, in ease, in calm. Now, imagine the door closing behind you with a soft thud. The latch softly clicks. Outside, the night deepens, but inside, you are embraced by this world's gentle hush. The lanterns dim with deliberate care. The staff moves softly to stoke embers and smooth blankets. The crackle of the fire becomes a rhythm, a lullaby for the soul. As your eyes remain closed, envision the inn's soft breathing inhale, exhale, mirroring your own. Let this dual pulse guide you downward. Let the tendrils of sleep follow their lead. With each breath, you drift deeper, further from tension, further into rest. I will remain here with you, close but unobtrusive, merely a soft voice ferrying you toward tranquility. No demands, no excitement, only calm. No drama, only warmth. No urgency, only twilight's slow unfolding. Allow yourself now to drift past the threshold of wakefulness. If you are already sleepy, let that tenderness unfold. If you are still alert, let the images of lantern light, warm straw, gentle melody carry you away. Remember, you are safe, you are seen, you are cared for. This inn is ancient and steady, a constant in the turmoil of centuries. Now, tonight, it is your refuge. Let it be so. And now, dear friend, continue to breathe softly, evenly. Feel the weight of the world lift from your eyelids. Feel the heart's warmth wash over your thoughts. Feel the melody guide you deeper. Close your eyes or keep them gently open, whatever feels lightest. In this space, there is nothing more to do than rest. In this space, there is nothing you must hold on to except calm, simplicity, and the slow unfolding of sleep. Let us begin our gentle journey through the inn, room by room, step by silent step, letting every detail weave deeper, still into comfort and tranquility. You are safe. You are warm. And now, slowly, drift. The early morning hush drapes over the inn, soft as a woolen blanket, settling across the earthen floorboards and low-set beams before the day begins. In those earliest hours, before the inn awakens to the stir of travelers and animals, the building exists in gentle anticipation. The smell of wood smoke lingers faintly from yesterday's hearth, and a pale glow from a single lantern rests on the threshold, welcoming the faintest of morning light. It is within this first fragile moment that the inn's character begins to reveal itself. Built from stone and timber, thatch and mortar, its bones speak in textures and curves, in creaks concise, as though waking from a dream. In medieval towns and along country roads, innkeepers chose their sites with intention, where travelers paused for rest, where horses required stabling, where merchants convened in small clusters to trade. The structure took shape slowly, often evolving over decades. A humble two-room hall, its stone walls thick, wattle and daub panels replacing whole sections during repairs, would grow a lean-to kitchen, then a gallery, and guest chambers added above. Courtyard inns, with rooms arranged around a central yard, first appeared in university towns and trading hubs, their layout bolstering privacy while nurturing a quiet sense of community. One such example is the New Inn in Gloucester, built around 1450, with rooms on either side of a courtyard, open to the sky above. Sturdy stone foundations sit deep, rooted below the shifting earth. Above them, timber frames rise in quiet rhythm. Upright posts, crossing beams, bracework carved with small flares. In some inns, particularly later ones, the upper floors lean outward, on the architectural trick called jettying, a way to extend space without crowding the street below. Imagine a wooden balcony, calmed by the evening breeze, cantilevered gently over the doorway, protecting passers-by from rain above. This simple gesture held both practical benefit and a form of quiet elegance. It sheltered the base of the building and caught the sunset, framing the inn in a soft glow. On the walls of these timber-framed buildings, one sometimes finds close studding vertical beams placed close together, carved or painted, giving the facade a delicate, decorative pattern. Though subtle, these beams spoke to a modest pride of place. Travelers passing along the road would note an inn with a fine frontage, composed of even, dark wood against pale plaster. In these details, the inn revealed itself not flashy or ostentatious, but rooted in quiet dignity. One imagines stepping across the threshold from the yard. A bell simple iron with a mellow ring marks arrival. The wooden door swings inward on thick hinges, revealing a dim common hall. The stone floor is strewn with fresh rushes. Clumps of herbs, lilac, lavender, rosemary, tucked between them to perfume the air. They lie in uneven swaths, thick where footfall is heavy, softer where the hearth's warmth gathers. Each morning, the scullery maid or chamberlain walks the hall with a broom in hand, brushing away yesterday's crumbs, smoothed by last night's guests, until the floor becomes a fresh canvas. Across one wall, a long hearth sits low, its lintel carved from a single beam. The hearth is the heart flat at its base, no raised hearth to trip over, but with iron cranes and spits, ready for cooking the day's broth or heating kettles. In the quiet hour before the fire is rekindled, ashes sit in a neat bed, the embers still faintly red. Above, the smoke bay a small opening where smoke uplifts the smell of old wood into the rafters, where ancient beams are blackened and softened by centuries of fire and peat. When daylight seeps through narrow windows, glazed only sometimes, more often open or shuttered, the dust in the air becomes visible. It dances on those first beams of light, golden motes in motion. The walls, stone and plaster, hold the marks of time. Drip lines where rain seeped in, Slight undulations from centuries' shifts in flooring, small repairs where an errant tree limb pried the plaster, and it was patched by the innkeeper's spouse with fresh lime. At the rear lies the scullery, its wide hearth and low bench ready for earliest tasks. A scullery maid begins the quiet ritual of ash lifting, bowl setting, water drawing. Steps are soft, measured. Pots are racked on iron hooks, cleaned of last night's stew, prepared silently for the day ahead. Even the kitchen's stone floor is strewn with rushes, but theirs are blackened by soot. They will be swept out tomorrow morning, replaced with fresh reeds. Beyond, the stable yard rests sometimes open to the sky or under a lean-to roof. Timber posts support a rough shed. The ground is straw-strewn, a layer of bedding for animals. In a corner, a wooden manger swells after the horse's oats and barley feed. A stable boy greets the day with a soft cough and a pitchfork smoothing straw that curled overnight. He murmurs to the horse's gentle words, only enough to stir them into nibbling. Never loud, never abrupt. Within the inn's layout, each region breathes quietly. Guest chambers sit upstairs, simple rooms warmed only by the hearth below, with straw-filled pallets and woolen blankets. Sheets, when present, are homespun linen, heavy in weight and soft to the touch. A narrow corridor links each door. It is not bright, but lit by a single candle and the morning's indirect glow, and the floorboards hold a soft creak beneath each step. In some inns, there is a gallery, a wooden corridor, or balcony overlooking the yard, where guests might stand to watch the horses or the comings and goings. These galleries often run along 2 or 3 sides of a courtyard space, hanging wooden balustrades protecting the walkways. In Gloucester's New Inn, and also in Oxford's medieval Courtyard Inn, similar arrangements created lines of human sight across the courtyard, soft echoing footsteps, quiet exchanges at a covered stair. Imagine midday light flooding the courtyard. It illuminates scattered straw, dust motes floating in a silent ballet. The stables are empty, hungry mules have been fed already. Doors to the kitchen are closed, conversation hushed. The feeble hum of activity begins to rise as travelers stir from their slumber in the chambers above and gather in the common room. But for a moment, there is stillness, a bridge between night and day, inviting the inn itself to take a breath. In earlier centuries, some inns grew from alehouses, vernacular homes, centered on a great hall, with wings appended for storage, service, animal shelter, and finally for guests. They evolved not from grand designs, but through necessity. An influx of travelers beyond one's immediate community, a petition by a local gentry to host meetings, or the desire of an innkeeper to formalize lodging. They added chambers, lean-tos, stables. They extended timber roofs. They inserted chimneys. Floors originally open to the roof were split. Lofts were created. Staircases introduced. In this way, inns became vernacular marvels of practicality. Every beam, every partition, every outbuilding grew from lived-in use. Between the structural bones of timber and stone, the inn's spirit grows with layers of repair. Wattle and daub patches replaced rotten panels. New joists tied back sagging roofs. Fresh thatch was laid atop the old. In many cases, interior walls were added as partition, dividing the great hall into smaller parlors, or to create private chambers. The transformation was gentle walls built of plaster and lath, measuring privacy, not closure. The inn became an organism, adapting incrementally, each change barely shifting the whole. When the inn stood complete, Beneath its overhanging jettied eaves and framed front, travelers saw a promise of warmth, of company, of dinner. Inside, beside the open hearth, voices were measured, footsteps quiet. Guests, pilgrims, merchants, messengers, local officials shared spaces. Their presence shaped the halls. Their luggage wheeled on carts. Their candles glowed on low tables. But above it all, the inn's architecture held them together, rooms scaled to human height. Hallways a single step below the ceiling. Stairways wrought of thick planks, worn smooth by centuries of use. Within each technical element lies a story. The smoke bay hovers, its purpose simple to lift soot, but its presence gives rhythm to the rafters. The jetty above the door creates slight shelter, gathering rain and softening its fall. Close-studded timber fronting makes a statement. This is cared for. A courtyard's enclosing walls fostered civility. Sounds echoed, but only softly. Night breezes circled low, ruffling straw, dimming candles. It is architecture as a gentle guide beckoning inward, slowing the step, drawing voices quiet. Some inns, especially those in towns, incorporated shops along the street front. These spaces serve dual roles, selling wares in the daylight, and at evening, serving ale or sweetbread. The shop fronts opened to the road. They were built to sell, to be open. Meanwhile, behind them, the inn's private courtyard lay concealed. These buildings often had stone ground floors, sometimes with mullioned windows, supporting timber upper floors. In Oxford, records show medieval courtyard inns built behind street shops, their internal gallery facing inward. One imagines the shopkeeper-innkeeper stepping from his counter directly into the quiet corridor leading to sleeping chambers. Soft light enters through windows' slender openings, some with oiled cloth, others shuttered. Some windows are arched, carved in stone or timber, their tracery simple in medieval perpendicular style. Others are narrow, near slits to keep out wind, admitting light in pale beams. Some are glazed with small diamond panes of translucent glass. Others remain shuttered, opening only at need. Walls are thick. A traveler leaning against one, arms folded, would feel the cool stone through his tunic. Wear has smoothed the wall's edges in places where people leaned, where merchants chatted, where lovers whispered. The plaster has been daubed over cracks, sometimes patched with lime that indicates a long-ago repair. The wall's color softens from tones of mushroom plaster, glowing when lit by firelight, crisp and white in the daylight. Above, rafters curve across the stone walls. Tree trunk beams split and fitted with mortise and tenon. In some inns, a technique called crown post construction held the roof. A central post rising to a collar tied to rafters, creating an inverted Y silhouette beneath the thatch. Occasionally, carved brackets remain simple scrolls or chamfers, reminders the wood once gleamed and was cared for. Each smoothing stroke by a medieval joiner, each peg hammered home, each pass of the adze left a mark now softened by time, but still speaking in grain and joint. In winter, the thatch above muffles wind. The stone below holds heat from hearths, and rooms high in the rafters gather that warmth gently. In summer, the jetties shade walls, windows open to breezes, plaster keeps interiors cool, stone floors offer solace. The inn breathes with seasons, but its shape remains constant. The courtyard, the heart of communal life, is an intimate world within the inn. Its walls rise from ground to first floor, a threshing space, a transitional zone leading to lofts or rooms above. straw strewn across it, animals loose when necessary. It is an everyday stage for morning mucking, afternoon rest, evening gathering. A trough stands in a corner for water or ale. Old buckets lie for carrying. Iron rings bolt horses at arrival. Along the gallery, guests on benches or stools watch the scene unfold. The day bleeds into twilight. Inside the inn, garnering warmth is a ritual. Hearth embers are stirred at dawn. Kettles lifted, water drawn from cistern or well. Fires stoked, not blazing, but glowing a foundation for cooking, living, sleeping. Throughout the day, embers are coaxed, never extinguished, a thread of continuity across the hours. At night, the hearth's coals settle bronze in the hearth pit. It warms the stone up. In the morning, someone lifts the ashes and rekindles gently. When torrential rain pounds the street, the inn stands calm. Water splashes against stone below, drains away. The roof keeps it muted. Drips may form in eaves, but run behind the facade, muffling noise. Inside, the inn is warm and drowsing. Candles wick low, cooling quiet light. Travelers lean over tables, napkins in lap, forks resting beside simple plates. A stable boy soft knock at the door, a quiet request to staff for additional blankets. This is the rhythm, soft but ongoing, life at rest in the inn's embrace. In time, the building ages. Roof beams sag, stones shift. Joints crack, but the inn doesn't break, it adjusts. Adds a new column, tightens a beam, repatches thatch. The walls grow patched, quilted with repairs. Each layer is as faint as a memory. The garden smell of herbs drifts through rosemary by the door, thyme in window boxes. It is an accumulation of care, passed through domestic hands. This structure, built by necessity, thrives as a place of gentle transition. Travelers sleep, horses rest, wheels are greased, messages whispered between corridors. The layout, crafted over time, is not flashy but enduring. Entrance hall opening into the common room, scullery and kitchen to the side. Chambers above reached by stairs nestled behind low walls. Stables and yard to the back. Gallery bastioned under thatch overlooking straw-scattered earth. Each part held to the other, binding utility to simplicity. Within that architecture lie rhythms. Guests entering, luggage removed, meals quietly served, stories told in low voices, candles lit as dusk bleeds into shadow. Fireplace embers warm pillows can warm skin. Stables echo hoof touches on straw. Chamber doors creak as doors open gently in the night. The inn's layout channels life into quiet flows, each area softly bordered, softly held. Even without words, each beam, each stone tells the telling of centuries. From Norwich's Dragon Hall to Gloucester's New Inn, to countless anonymous hostelries tucked beside trade routes, the medieval inn stands humble but welcomed, sheltering travelers, animals, goods, and tender living. The courtyard binds them. The hearth warms them. The chambers hush them. The architecture welcomes sleep. Imagine walking through the inn now, with eyes closed. Feel the cool caress of the stone wall, the worn spot on the floor where many a foot has paused. Smell the faint herbs on the rush-strewn floor. Hear the murmuring embers, the soft squeak of a stamped wood panel as the cook's foot lands gently. Touch the rough beam, its wood smooth, worn by hand and age. Sense the layout guide you, from threshold to hall, to scullery, to staircase, to chamber. This is the inn, a shape carried through use, warmed by life, shaped by quiet intent. The walls, floors, hearths, rafters, it is more than shelter. It is a slow chronicle of human tending, of routine, of layered living. And in those layers, the inn offers both embrace and anonymity, a place to rest, a moment of calm, a hush born of architecture's quiet design. So let us linger in this space now, breathing in its tale, the beams, the stone, the thatch above, the courtyard below, the hearth before, the corridor above. In every bean's grain lies centuries of care, in every stone its gathered stillness. Here, in this gentle place, the inn's heart beats quietly on, as it did then, as it does now, as it will, inviting us to pause, to hold our breath softly, to sense the hum beneath the surface of routine, of architecture shaped to human pause, to deliberate slowness. In the faint half-light before dawn, the inn stirs. Though the night lingers in the corners of its wooden beams, the soft thud of footsteps signals the start of another chapter in the inn's daily life. The innkeeper rises first, drawing aside a thick woolen blanket and sliding from the creaking bed. His breath whispers in the chill air of the chamber, sending gentle ripples across the surface of a small wash bowl by the hearth. It glows with embers from the previous evening's fire, their faint warmth still resting in the stones. He lifts a tallow candle, the flame briefly flickering, then steadies into a soft, amber glow. The innkeeper's day begins in silence, with water carefully fetched from the yard, warmed by the embers, and poured into a basin to rinse the morning's cobwebs from his senses. Nearby, the cook stirs. She pushes the scullery door open quietly, her shifts brushing against the floorboards, and kneels by the hearth to stoke even soft embers into a cautious, patiently built flame. She adds small pieces of split kindling, one at a time, breathing softly as smoke curls upward and the scent of burning wood drifts into the silent hall. She moves with measured purpose, neither hurried nor deliberate, but with the quiet intent born of countless mornings. She gathers a kettle, sets it above the new flame, and allows it to begin its slow sing in a low hiss, promising warmth to come. In the dim light, she begins to sort ceramic jugs, one for ale, one for water, and positions them near the hearth to take its gentle heat, so they will be ready for the earliest visitors. In the stave of morning, the chambermaid appears. She carries a wicker basket filled with linen sheets and blankets that have rested overnight over weary shoulders. She walks the corridors with muted footsteps as the inn awakens room by room. Each chamber door opens with whispered reverence. She enters, pulls aside the blankets to let cool night air brush the straw tick beneath, and then spreads fresh linen with hands that move softly, like a breeze shaping curtains. She tucks blankets evenly, aligning them until the small fold mirrors the simplicity of her own quiet resolution. In each room, she opens windows just a crack, letting the air renew what was still. The work is predictable. Rhythmic brush a shelf, gather refuse, ensure a pitcher of water and a cup rest by the bedside. In gentle repetition, she gives each space a sense of renewed promise. Downyard, the stable boy greets his day with a soft nicker of horses already roused. He pushes open the stable doors, letting in a pale wash of morning mist. He greets each horse with gentle words and a caress. His hands, shaped by routine, sweep straw bedding and offer oats held in a wooden scoop. The soft crunch resonates as the horses eat, the boy's day already taking on the steady heartbeat of responsibility. He wipes the cold sweat from their flanks, checks harnesses on wooden racks, and polishes bits slowly, ensuring every piece fits and gleams when needed. The stable boy's rhythm is different daily, dust overt, yet as calm as a breeze across a meadow, yet harmonious with the inn's unfolding day. Within the taproom, the ale wall is quiet for now. The barman, if the innkeeper has one, begins coaxing barrels to life. He loosens the wooden spigots with gentle taps, testing the flow of ale. A few drops plink into a low pewter mug as he examines its clarity and color. He smells the rich malt, notes the foam, and nods quietly in approval. Soon, this same foam will rise when travelers enter, but here and now, the pour is a ritual, unhurried and precise. He wipes the counter with a linen cloth, swirling in slow circles, brushing away any remaining dust or dried droplet. His stool is placed nearby, so he may rest his legs during slower hours, for the day will bring waves of company, and he must have steady endurance. He sits now, reclined shoulder to back, in still readiness. By the kitchen's hearth, the cook's kettle is singing, steam gently breathing into the space. She sets a large pot to simmer, perhaps a pottage of grains, vegetables, and preserved meat, stirring, occasionally with a wooden spoon, so the contents coaxily shift. There's a soft patter of water being dragged from a pail, and moments later, the cook dips a dipper to taste, closing her eyes to savor the warmth. With care, she adds a pinch of salt, a scrap of herb, returning the spoon. The day's first scent begins to drift, a quiet composition of nourishment that will soon settle through corridors and rooms, as if to whisper that morning has truly arrived. Outside, travelers stir in their chambers. The chambermaid's work invites them. A merchant sits before a small wash basin. A pilgrim stands and stretches, straightening cloak. Their footsteps are gentle, respectful of the inn's slow dawn. They descend to the common room, drawn by pot and hearth. The innkeeper greets them with a nod that is both quiet courtesy and timely awareness. He gestures to a bench by the hearth, where a mug already awaits each. The traveler's eyes meet his, and they offer thanks not with flourish, but with relief, warm as the firelight in their cheeks. The day's first breakfast is served simple bread, thin slices of cheese, a ladle of grain porridge, and warm drink. There is the gentle clink of spoon on bowl, a low rustle of coattails, a sipped pause of contentment. All this unfolds in a quiet harmony. On one side, the stable boy returns with more oats. On another, the cook brings a bowl of thick pottage. The barman refills mugs. Their movements never collide or jangle. Rather, they weave around each other, a rhythmic ballet of small kindnesses. The innkeeper watches, allowing each to settle into its rhythm, like ripples across a pond. He crosses to the ledger and inscribes the arrival of traveler's name, origin, length of stay, cost of room, and ale. As he writes, his hand glides across the page in a soft scratch, the quill leaving pale trails on vellum. He counts pieces of coins left in a wooden box, their metal clicking quietly. Then he flips the page, adjusts the quill's tip, pauses for a moment, and writes again, each motion measured, each entry precise. By mid-morning, the inn's atmosphere shifts. Some travelers gather in the taproom. Others linger by the hearth, perhaps dozing. The chambermaid, her basket now emptied, crosses back through the hall to fetch soiled linens. She sets them in an alcove by the scullery door before tending to other tasks, wiping the washroom basin, emptying a chamber pot, sweeping straw. Each action is small, essential. Her broom moves debris into a dustpan, which is emptied carefully. Near her, the cook washes spoons and ladles in a basin warmed by hot water. She swirls them, rinses, lays them on a clean cloth. The scullery remains calm, rising with steam, the day in full swing, but without clutter. Even the clatter that occurs, the dining plates, the metal tankards is muted, as though cushioned by straw and wood. As sunlight climbs higher, the inn's routines blend. Travelers socialize in soft voices, their words drifting over ale and bread. The barman listens, refilling mugs when empty, always with a practiced smile, not grand, but genuine. He chats gently, asking pilgrims of their journeys, merchants of their wares. He laughs low. A steady note it nestles into the room, neither loud nor forced. When a traveler takes a seat, he draws a bench quietly, settles so the guest's cloak doesn't brush strangers. Every gesture is deliberate, but silent microcosms of thoughtfulness woven into the day. The cook, whose work is never far from the senses, moves through the kitchen and scullery. She brings plates of warm stew to the serving area. Steam curls in lazy clouds, shimmering in golden beams. She arranges slices of bread on a platter and sprinkles cheese over them. Herbs rest atop. Each dish is placed gently, no clatter, only soft release. She pauses to breathe in the aroma, closing her eyes. She sets a pot of small malt ale next to the dishes. The pot legs rest on a trivet, and the beads of condensation gather at the rim. It is a simple feast, yet central to the inn's warmth. In the corridor, the chambermaid tends to chamber after chamber. One guest sleeps. She straightens folded blankets and gently brushes crumbs from a small table. In another chamber, a merchant prepares to start off. She pulls aside curtains, and early light spills across straw. She lays fresh water and clears scraps of yesterday's bread. Each chamber she enters, she leaves better than she found, though she prides herself on being unnoticed. The hush she leaves behind is an echo of care and constancy. Meanwhile, the stable boy enters again. He fetches a sponge, weights it in a bucket, then uses it to wipe the heads of horses before brushing their coat until the dust settles like soft fog. He reins in a tourney horse, laid tired after travel, leading it through a wash of cool water. The horse shakes its mane, sending droplets into the morning. He pats its neck, brushing again, speaking softly in a voice tuned to domesticated kindness. The stable boy's face is calm. His rhythm mirrors the animal's. Every strand of straw, every hoof print in the soft place of the yard is cared for. It is quiet devotion. By late morning, the inn's heart pulses steadily kneels. Chores, entries in the ledger, laughter and conversation, sweeping and washing, caring for travelers and animals, resupply and rest. The day proceeds in cycles, gentle crescendos, and decline toward noon. A clock chimes softly, perhaps from a nearby church tower, a reminder of time's passage. Yet here, time does not impose urgency. It breathes, as one does when at peace. As the meal winds down, the cook collects plates and mugs, guiding them to the scullery. She rests for a moment, seated by a stone sink. Water drips from spoons into the drain. She breathes one deep inhale, one soft exhale. Off duty, her posture remains poised but uneven. Her day is long, but twilight brings completion to many tasks. She glides through washing, the water's warmth mildew in her shift. She stacks mugs, rinses bowls, and fills jugs with fresh water to keep on hand. The kitchen cools now, embers resting beneath ashes where fire once roared. She shifts a lid, caps the kettle, and snuffs the flame with an ember-dusted spoon. Her shoulders release in relief. In the taproom, the barman straightens benches and chairs, pushes benches to align with tables, wipes tabletops again. He shifts chairs so they face the hearth. He folds back tablecloths, brushes away crumbs. He replaces candles on wall brackets or high tables, their wicks unlit now but waiting. He dims the lanterns, but leaves their glass stowed clean, clear, ready. The room reflects patience, readiness for evening's return. The chambermaid descends with soiled linens. She places them in a wooden tub filled with water and hearthworm soap. She dips sheets, wrings them gently, re-dips. She rinses and carries them to a drying rack in a sun-warmed corner. She moves with care, her motions rhythmic as a lullaby. She hums with friction between hands and linens, soothing the day's residue away. A draft brushes her hair. She adjusts a braid, then kneads soap between palms once more. Each piece of cloth shines with promise of next night's rest. Outside, the stable boy returns animals to rest, checks each stall's straw bedding once more, sweeps the alley between them. He picks up the discarded straw and shovels new, distributing it evenly. He oils harness hooks, checks water troughs. At his final pass, horses are settled, the air cools, and he gathers all tools and returns them to the tack room. He rubs straw from his cloak and walks out, closing the gate behind with measured care. The innkeeper's midday moment arrives. He withdraws from the taproom to the hearth by the ledger. He rests one hand on its closed pages, closes his eyes, and breathes in the warmth. A mug of water lies at his side. He sips slowly, relishing its cool finish. He looks around. Hearth, guests, windows. Everything flows. He smiles at this stillness. He knows evening will come, and he welcomes it. But now, quiet reigns. He returns to the ledger, lifts cover, and writes a short note. Noon, 8 guests, 6 mugs, 2 stables occupied. Near twilight, daylight wanes through small window panes, painting faint squares of muted gold across tables. Morning rhythms now shift. The cook begins preparing supper, adds a chunk of salted meat to a pot, sees it bubble above a newly stoked fire. The aromas rise rosemary, garlic, barley. The barman opens new barrels, pours samples to test. Foam forms, settles. He nods to himself, taps the barrel head twice, and secures it. The chambermaid ventures into the kitchen to perch on a stool, where the cook cups a bowl and shares a portion with her. They eat in companionable silence comfort shared through food. The chambermaid's cheeks glow, the cook's eyes soften. They speak only in murmurs. By early evening, travelers return from day's journeys. Their footsteps are heavier, voices husky with weariness. The taproom hums, yet somehow remains an environment without jangle, where laughter is warm and low. Conversation blends like leaves in a breeze. The staff moves around it, barman, cook, chambermaid, stable boy, each anchored in their parts, yet perfectly attuned. They exist as a single organism, each heart beating in time with others. The innkeeper greets each traveler as they enter, perhaps bringing their horse close to stable, offering fresh straw, water, and care. He listens to stories of the road. He smiles as each finds their seat, their bowl of pottage, their cup of ale or water. He offers a blanket if someone shivers, a word if they seem lost. He does not rush. He He just watches the evening gather like dusk through windows. A sense of fullness arrives. Plates empty, mugs lighten, candles flicker, lanterns settle into glow. The cook returns to her scullery to clean for the third time today, humming as she works. The chambermaid fetches fresh straw for several rooms, rotates dried linens through windows, where the night air can breathe life into fabric. The stable boy tends the final feed. The innkeeper tallies evening's takings, stamping the ledger. Night settles in. The inn dims with it, not dark, but softened. The hearth's embers glow low. Candlesticks whisper light against walls. Staff shrink into corners with a breath. A hush falls settled, peaceful, complete. The rhythms of roles have merged into one lullaby of rest, care, daily pattern. All is gently ready for sleep. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Imagine the door of the inn parting on quiet hinges. The gentle jingle of its bell is a soft invitation. Warm air drifts toward you, a mix of wood smoke, rich broth, and the faint sweetness of fresh herbs. The common room beyond glows under lantern light, amber across rough-hewn planks and low beams. Travelers pause mid-step, inhaling that familiar blend of hearth and hospitality. In this place, every welcome is practiced as a ritual, a gentle ceremony of rest and comfort. It begins with no fanfare, just the simple act of greeting. An innkeeper stands amid the glow, not a figure of authority, but one of calm presence. Their voice is low in offering rather than announcement. "Welcome," they murmur, hands open, guiding each weary traveler toward the hearth. The traveler's steps soften against straw-strewn floors. Their tired faces ease as they tilt their shoulders down and loosen their cloaks. Here, each guest becomes nameless at first, simply someone in need of peace. No hurry, no pressure. The ritual has begun. Soft murmur of conversation drifts through the golden light words exchanged quietly over bowls of pottage, cups of ale, or mugs of watered wine. The fare is humble, always freshly made. Thick bread, a bowl of the day's pottage, perhaps salted cheese. Stews in bronze cauldrons bubble gently behind screens of wood, simmering all day so that each portion is warm and full of depth. One dish holds barley, roots, and shredded meat, scented with parsley and thyme. Another is simpler, a soft, coarse porridge to soothe the stomach. Each spoonful is an act of comfort. There is no rush. Guests lift bowls slowly, exhaling as steam curls toward the rafters. A scullion moves among the tables, clearing empty bowls, refilling cups. Their steps are deliberate, not hurried small acts of attention. A traveler sighs, leaning back into a wooden bench that seems to embrace their spine. Outside, horses stamp in the yard. Inside, the candlelight flickers gently across travelers' faces as they rest. The innkeeper, voice still soft, offers toasted wedges of bread and pats of butter. She says nothing more. Her presence is enough. Kindness in each gesture. At a long table, a family of merchants from distant lands settles. Their cloaks are heavy, their voices hushed. As they sit, the innkeeper kneels by the hearth with a clay bowl of spiced wine laid ahead of them. The aroma of cinnamon and ginger drifts through the room. In return, they smile shyly, lifting the bowl slowly. As they sip, their eyes soften. Fatigue eases from their shoulders. This shared moment, quiet and communal, ripples outward. Others lean in, exchanging murmured conversation. No laughter, but the glow of mutual understanding. In the shadows, a group of travelers who arrived late descended a few steps to the wash basin pool, clear water gathered from a nearby stream or well. They dipped their hands, the sound of water a gentle note in the hush. A stable boy stands close, his pressure gentle as he rinses their boots by the door. Horses are fed just outside, straw flattened by hoofs. The yard offers its own rhythms, echoing into the inn the crush of pebbles, the distant wicker. Inside, each guest becomes softer, calmer. The temperature shifts as dusk falls. Lantern light grows warmer, shadows deepen. A cook softens her voice and begins to serve an evening broth thin but nourishing, with tender vegetables and pearl barley. She ladles with care, pouring into bowls, pausing to wipe a dribble of steam from the lip. Each bowl is placed before a guest with a quiet bow. They cradle the warmth, lift small spoons to lips, and close their eyes, savoring the moment. The ritual is complete, a full circle of arrival, nourishment, kindness, and rest. After the meal, linens appear. A chambermaid moves through the corridor. Her steps are soundless on worn boards. She carries linen that smells faintly of lavender and clean earth, a mixture of fresh straw and beds, and dried petals laid between layers. She slips inside each room, opening heavy wooden doors with gentle pressure. Inside, mattresses of straw receive their care fluffed and smoothed, blankets folded. A small jug of water and a basin appear by a bench. This is quiet service. No announcements, only care taken in gentle motions. Down the hall, soft murmurs flow. Guests prepare for bed in muted tones. One lifts a woolen blanket, smoothing wrinkles. Another opens a window, just enough to let a breeze. Outside, crickets sing. Inside, the smell of embers lingers. The innkeeper walks through with a single lantern, checking the embers still glow softly, coaxing warmth into rooms one last time. Lamp oil drips silently into wicks, a lantern lit by will rather than need. Each flame a beacon in the hushed calm. The stable boy returns, rushing down horses, whispering softly to them. He straightens saddles and pours oats quiet devotion to their rest, mirroring the inn's care. Inside, the innkeeper stands at the threshold of the common room before leaving it for the night. She glances back at the bowls emptied and the hearth simmered low. She breathes soft and slow and whispers a blessing of rest for all within. With that, she closes the door. Outside, the night deepens. The inn stands, a solitary lantern in the dark. Inside, rooms are still, straw beds ready, blankets drawn. The hush of evening settles like a soft cloth. In the corridors, feet are absent. Only distant echoes of horses' snores or a last quiet creak in wood persist. The world beyond, travelers and staff alike, drift closer to sleep. Here, in this unspoken ritual, lies the heart of medieval hospitality. Small kindnesses offered without ceremony, gestures done with care rather than flourish. The pottage ladled, the linen changed, the lantern lit, each step is quiet love, humble patience, gentle attention. It is a community without friction, a shared ritual of rest and renewal. And so you, dear listener, drift too. Your breath grows slower, thoughts quiet. Allow the warmth of the inn, the steady glow of embers, to carry you into sleep. You have been welcomed, nourished, cared for with the softest grace. Now, as the stable yard hushes and the common flame dies into memory, you lean back and let rest come. In the hushed early morning, before the workday truly begins, the innkeeper makes their way to the tiny chamber where the ledger book rests. The door creaks softly as it opens, and a faint glow from the lantern spills over smooth parchment. Each page is filled by careful records, names of guests, the dates of their arrival, the value of their lodgings, the tally of meals consumed, the cost of straw in the stalls. The ledger is no hurried list of transactions. Rather, it is a living document, tended like a small garden of inked lines. Ink, black and slightly glossy, dries slowly in the cool, chimney-swept chamber. The quill, plucked from a goose's wing the day before, rests atop the page, its slender shaft tapping triggers in the mind, and a soft scratch fills the otherwise quiet air. Behind each entry lies the texture of life in the inn. A young squire arriving at dusk, dusty from travel, paying 2 pence for his supper of thick pottage, bread, and ale. A widow, traveling alone, requesting a separate chamber by the kitchen's warmth, so that she may bake small cakes to break her fast. A merchant's cart resting in the yard, horses fed and shod, each service gently recorded. The ink may flutter slightly with each breath of the chamber, and the innkeeper's hand remains deliberate, always slower than the inward rush of thought, pacing each letter in an echo of calm. Across several pages, entries are punctuated by small crosses or flourishes that mean more than merely punctuation. They mark discounts given, help extended, tokens worth remembering when guests leave tired and hearts lightened. But not all records live in leather-bound ledgers. Outside, in the scullery and stable, tallies simple lengths of hazelwood, carved with notches, are used to mark grain distributed to horses or hens. When the day's stores are shared, the scullery maid may notch a stick, splitting it into 2 halves, so that one stays in the kitchen and one is kept by the stable boy. That light tap of a knife against wood is a quiet sound, but it speaks volumes. The stick bears evidence of food given, and the halves match like 2 halves of a whispered promise. This method, carried from the halls of kings to the very hearth of an inn, is not meant for grandeur, but for honesty. A gentle reminder of balance, even in the simplest acts of everyday life. At midday, an official may arrive, perhaps a relief on horseback, whose job is not to judge, but merely to note that the shed for carts is clean, the water barrel not muddied, the straw in the guest chamber dry, free from vermin. He carries a small badge, stamped with the royal seal, and offers one more mark in the ledger, inspected. His steps are unhurried, the soles of his boots brushing straw, the smell of pine wood lingering as he enters the hall. He listens to the low tones of conversation, the dull crash of pots, the soft murmur of respectful compliance. Each check is routine and given its own quiet space in the record. A note that all is stable, secure, and dutiful. Mistakes are rare, and when made, settled calmly. A misplaced cloak, an overcharged ale, each resolved with a quiet apology, a modest refund, and a new entry in the ledger. These records, both ledgers and sticks, carry more than sums, they carry memory. In the flicker of candlelight, the innkeeper reads back over the past week's entries, longing to capture with words and notches the warmth of hearth fires tended, the careful folding of blankets for a traveler's comfort, the way the straw in a chamber softly settled under a sleeping guest. Accounts are matched at evening, each tally piece placed beside its counterpart foiled to stock, pages in the ledger cross-checked, totals quietly reconfirmed. The candle burns low. Often, the innkeeper does not see when the wick curls back upon itself. The balance is more than fiscal. It is communal, an act of care that transforms a simple roadside house into a dependable refuge. When disputes arise once in a blue moon, the manner of resolution mirrors the rest of the inn's administration. Soft, respectful, reconciliatory. There may be a guest who feels overcharged for meat and ale, or a stable boy who worries his straw payment was overlooked. The innkeeper invites both to the common room, pours warm water for fresh ale mugs, and gestures gently to seats beside the fire. Words are spoken quietly, gestures offered slowly, a discount offered, an apology extended, and a note made in the margin of the ledger with a delicate flourish. Small cross or a low squiggle indicating kindness dispensed and tension resolved. The day continues, calmly sustained, and the record remains a covenant of trust. As seasons shift, so too do the forms of record. In winter, additional notches mark extra wood chopped for fire, furs laundered for warmth, blankets mended. In summer, entries note the cost of shutters and straw replacements, the extra water carried from the well. Each item is small, each change gentle, yet collectively they maintain the inn's reliability through year after year. The ledger, thickening page by page, sits beside a chipped jug and a half-dusted feather duster, companions in this quiet archive. At night's close, with the last guest settled under wool blankets and the hearth's last ember glowing low, the innkeeper returns to the chamber. The ledger lies open, one final entry written in the margin, all balanced. No lack, the pen is set aside. The tally sticks are stacked in their wooden box, halves paired and aligned. A soft sigh, the snap of candlewick, and all is darkness but for a dim glow that will fade by morning. The records rest until dawn, silent witness to the life that unfolded gently behind these walls. In that silent room, the weight of each inked line, each carved notch, carries a quiet dignity. It is a ritual of care, not for show nor acclaim, but because hope is found in steadiness, and trust is built slowly, record by record. The inn exists not only in its hearth and its wood, but in this archive of small duties performed with grace. And as sleep begins to gather in corners of the chamber, as the candle's final glow gives way to darkness, so too do the night's records settle into calm, preparing for the dawn when each name will be met, each tally honored, and the story of hospitality will continue anew. With the turning of each season, the inn's heart beats in gentle accord with the rhythm of the world beyond its doors. In the first soft lull of spring, when daylight stretched its fingers through the lingering gray of winter, the inn awakened from its own deep rest. The thatched eaves, dusted with the first bright green shoots of moss, seemed to sigh as the underfloor timbers warmed in the sun's steadily increasing strength. From the yard came the muted calls of lambs, tiny voices rising against the early morning hush, while the stable boy guided foals and marais into the open, their breath mingling with the rising steam of new life. Inside, the hearth that had slumbered through the frost was carefully rekindled, embers coaxed to flame, logs laid with attentive deliberation. The cook, slender from the lean months, gathered the first fresh forage nettles, wild garlic, sprigs of early herbs for soup that would grace the midday table. Root vegetables, stored through winter, now met young greens in the cauldron, producing an aromatic steam that promised renewal. Spring's pale light filtered through small, oil lamp-smeared windows, carrying the glow across flagstones still cool beneath a traveler's boot. It was a season of renewal, when the inn's bones reawakened and its warmth returned gently, like a slow sunrise in a room of oak beams and mellow stone. As spring melted into summer, the inn's character shifted subtly, as if settling into a softer, more leisurely pace. Windows were opened wide to admit the hum of the world outside. Bees visiting bright clusters of elderflower, birds flitting through branches that brushed against the outer walls. A straw mattress on the upper loft caught the light breeze across its surface, rustling like linen in slow conversation. The staff, unburdened by frozen mornings, moved in lighter clothing homespun linens in soft hues, as cool against the skin as the air they allowed in. The stable boy spread straw thickly in the stalls to cushion hooves made dusty by warm trails. Water barrels collected from summer rains glowed beneath the sun's golden glare, and the clatter of mugs returned more often to the table as travelers lingered in the gentle heat. Meat roasted more often over the embers. Wild berries found in hedgerows became part of pies, and fresh herbs, sage, thyme, rosemary were woven into dishes with quiet abundance. Even at night, the fire was modest, a low, steady flame that warmed rather than roared, mingling with the soft fret of cicadas beyond the shutters. Lanterns were trimmed low so as not to compete with the moonlight that filtered through unmanned doorways. The inn, at ease with the season, offered a kind of suspended tranquility. Guests drifted in and out with light steps, leaving behind faint echoes of laughter and the scent of rosemary and sweet grass. When autumn arrived, it carried a palette of slow change. The light returned to evenings early, each sunset drawing the inn's curtains gently across the day's window. The world outside turned in amber and russet. Beneath the door, leaves rustled as guests came in with a chill in their bones. The cook, aware of the coming cold, hunted, gathered, and prepared. A boar's thigh roasted slowly near the hearth, sending perfumed smoke curling through rafters. Pies were made with apples and quince glazed with honey. Vegetables from the harvest turnips, carrots, cabbages were boiled in thick broths. Cider warmed gently in clay flagons, offering comfort to travelers peeled away from damp fields and woodlands. Staff replaced light linens with sturdy wool blankets, folded neatly atop straw pallets. Clay bed warmers, filled with hot stones, circulated through the guest chambers just before dusk, leaving a tender, lingering heat. Outside, rains softened roads and filled the air with earthy damp. Inside, the fire grew, crackling in its hearth, and the inn's beams seemed to settle into their warmth. A hush enveloped the place, punctuated only by the low murmur of voices and the steady drip of cider. Winter descended with measured grace, bringing frost-laden mornings that creaked through window panes. The inn knew its coldest days then. Timber-framed walls felt the bite of icy wind, and hoarfrost etched crystalline lace upon doorposts. The cook rose early before dawn and stoked the hearth so that warmth spread before anyone stirred. Braziers and coals from the main fire were moved to common areas, and clay bed warmers slipped beneath straw pallets or inside thick linens. Blankets of wool, dark and heavy with winter's depth, cocooned each bed and rough wooden settlement. Travelers bundled in cloaks, their breath visible in the lamplit gloom, hardened for footsteps on frozen paths. In the common room, a clay pot of stewing beef and root vegetables simmered for hours, filling the air with savory heat. Spiced wine, mulled with cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves, warmed the belly. Guests in the loft slept stacked like hibernating creatures, wrapped in their own clothes, sometimes huddled together for shared body warmth. The stable boy, muffled in furs, shuffled hay and broke ice in the troughs. The innkeeper checked lanterns for soot and clipped wicks short, so smoke would not choke the still air. Outside, the wind howled at the eaves, but inside, the inn's bones and fires stood steady against winter's glower. These changes in the inn were not merely practical. They carried subtle rituals, each season unfolding through gentle rhythms. In spring, the staff ran their fingers along woodwork to clean winter's residue, revealing soft patina beneath. Dried herb garlands, mint, lavender, rosemary, were hung near fireplaces to scent the air and drive away damp. In summer, breezy curtains were drawn aside for lantern-lit evenings where guests whispered stories beneath moonlight. Autumn brought careful mending of linens, the smoothing of straw mattresses, and the lining of doors with cloth to hold heat inside. Winter meant frequent visits to the hearth, replenishing logs, checking braziers, and lighting smoked beeswax candles, their scent melding with wood smoke in soft comfort. The inn's very architecture adapted, as if breathing with the seasons. Windows shuttered tightly in winter became hinges of life in summer. Lofts, once used sparingly, became refuges of warmth in autumn and winter, open perches in spring. The deep eaves dripped in rain only to cradle snow in folds, each transformation changing how travelers entered, how stories were shared, and how rest was taken. Even the innkeeper, steady and unassuming, performed seasonal adjustments with care. In spring, accounts were opened and new straw and hay purchases recorded, fresh food costs noted alongside returning guests. In summer, the innkeeper measured rates for longer stays, for summer fairs and pilgrim routes that passed nearby. In autumn, stocks were inventoried. How many blankets, how many hearth logs, how much dried meat remained before winter's reserves were stretched thin. In winter, ledgers detailed every candle burned, every stone bed warmer filled, and every handful of coals carried to sleeping rooms. Flickering candlelight illuminated the careful script of figures and crosses, marking the closing and preparing for the season's turn. Guests, too, noticed how the inn deepened its welcome with the seasons. A merchant arriving in spring found a window seat dusted clean and offered the first sip of fresh beer brewed with spring wheat. A pilgrim stepping in during autumn found warm cider and a soft blanket waiting. A merchant in winter was tended with care, his gloves warmed in embers, his horse brought close to the hearth smoke, a small bowl of broth set upon the settlement. By contrast, an inn in summer offered jovial respite beneath rustling curtains, fresh fruit-paste tarts, and the gloom of evening shadows, simply a velvet backdrop for soft conversations. These seasonal shifts shaped not just comfort, but the very heart of hospitality. A traveler's arrival became a moment in time, marked by the inn's quiet transformation. You could tell the season by the shadows cast by lanterns, by the scent of herbs, by the caress of blankets. In spring, the inn smelled of damp earth and new shoots. In summer, of dried lavender and beeswax. In autumn, of wood smoke and apples. In winter, of soot, stew, and warmth. At night, each season's lull fell with different softness. Spring nights whispered with distant owl calls and the occasional musical calypso of a nightingale. Summer evenings stirred with the chirp of crickets and the faint echo of voices under firefly-bright skies. Autumn nights bled into long quiet, punctuated by the crackle of embers and scritch of straw as mice scurried beneath floorboards. In winter, sleep came quickly. The hearth's last ember dimmed, snow pressed against the walls, and travelers settled into a shared warmth that thumped in the inn's own quiet chest. For those who passed a season within its walls, the inn became more than shelter. It grew into a map of time itself. Every corner recorded months. The herb bundles behind the bar, the thickness of blankets on pallets, the angle of shutters across high windows. Guests might forget the outside world momentarily, but not the inn's seasonal embrace. It became a living ledger of sunlight and frost, a place shaped by time's gentle thread. In this way, the seasonal variations were not mere background. They were chapters in the slow narrative of lives passing through. Each traveler, each candle lighting, each dish served was woven into the fabric of the inn's yearly cycle. And though the world beyond changed, fields turning golden, rivers freezing, birds migrating overhead, the inn remained a constant shelter, adapting and nurturing the souls who found their way through its heavy wooden doors. There was a beauty in this slow transformation, a subtle reminder that all things change yet endure. As spring rolled to summer and autumn to winter, the inn's warmth was not fixed, but alive, breathing, evolving, an ever-shifting harbor of rest. The innkeeper and his staff did not chase excitement, but cultivated comfort, tending to the smallest seasonal needs, responding without haste, offering solace and steadiness. In that quiet ritual, travelers learned a new measure of time, not marked in hours or dates, but in the unfolding of seasons within a single shared space. And so, the seasons continued their soft procession, each leading its gentle imprint. Spring brought budding hope, summer, easy laughter, autumn, measured reflection, winter, deep repose. Through it all, the inn stood as a warm reflection of nature's rhythm, its hearths, its beams, its hearth-warmed stones, charting the passage of time more eloquently than any calendar. Travelers slept, dreamt, rested, and woke to find themselves bound to the inn's seasonal song, gently carried from one chapter of the year into the next, and always closer to peace. In the soft glow of dawn, the inn's courtyard lay hushed under the first whisper of morning light. And here we begin with the story of a mule, slow and steady, arriving at the inn's gates. Its hooves tapped against pale stone. A stable boy, eyes still heavy with night, met it with patience and care. He spoke to the animal in muted tones, his hands soft and familiar as he brushed its coat until the promise of warmth and sustenance began to coax both creature and listener into a shared stillness. The mule's breath rose in delicate steam, and the air carried the quiet gratitude of a creature trusting the kindness of strangers. In that warmth, the inn found its first breath of morning resilience, the steadfast ritual of care, transcending the gap between beast and human, offering solace in simple connection. Later, when the firekeeper stirred the ashes, he coaxed soft embers into flame, just as a weary traveler arrived, one whose cloak bore the dust of many roads. He set down a small wooden chest and allowed himself to lean against the doorframe, shoulders loosening with release. The innkeeper approached not with ceremony, but with gentle understanding. No questions demanded, no hurry pressed. Instead, a bowl of soft pottage was set before him, its aroma curling into the air like an invitation. Each spoonful eased him away from a night of uncertainty, anchoring him in this quiet refuge. His eyes closed, and we sensed the lines around his mouth relax. This was more than food. It was an act of welcome, of resilience, woven into an otherwise lone journey. Not every story sings with clear triumph. Some shimmer in the hush between breaths, the unspoken kindness that threads through each gesture. In one such moment, a chambermaid moved through the common room, sweeping away the crumbs from breakfast and humming softly, echoing the gentle patter of spring rain outside. In the corner sat a noblewoman and her child, Their carriage was trapped in mire, their procession delayed. Yet as the child drew near to the hearth, the maid stooped and offered a warm toy from her own pocket, its edges frayed but familiar. The child's small face brightened, and in that simple exchange, the rigid lines between ranks softened, if only for a moment. The maid returned to her work with a quiet nod, her heart warmed by the hush of gratitude. An unobserved kindness, yet glowing in the air like the smallest candle. Elsewhere in the stable boy knelt by a tired horse whose flanks bore the strain of long travel. With gentle strokes and calm words, he tended the animal's wounds. He gathered soft straw beneath its legs, whispered quiet encouragement at each exhalation. Travelers paused with silent admiration. The boy worked without hurry, as though each soft sweep of the brush carried the promise of rest. And in the gentle lilt of his care, their own rhythms slowed. Later, the horse's ears flicked forward, eyes soft, as the animal rose with renewed gate-quiet testament to the healing power of patient presence. At midday, the inn fell into a gentle lull. The cook stepped into the scullery and set about washing the morning's pots and pans. Steam rose in lazy spirals, and she inhaled the mingled scent of broth and flowers pressed in a jug on the sill. In that moment, she remembered the smallest act that mattered most, the careful blending of herbs in each cauldron, each leaf folded in with intention. Soon, she ladled out bowls of hearty soup, threading in parsley from the window box. A merchant, arriving late, received an extra loaf of warm bread no charge, only a kind smile. The cook paused when the merchant thanked her softly, and her chest ebbed with calm satisfaction. Another seed of quiet resilience planted, shared in warmth. Among the travelers was a pilgrim whose journey stretched farther than most. She carried a letter from her homeland, folded and worn. At night, she knelt by her cot and spoke a soft prayer of homesickness. The innkeeper, having tidied the room, noticed the tremor in her voice and quietly crept back with a small, carved wooden token, a simple dove. He did not intrude, only left it upon the table beside her. The pilgrim awoke to find it at dawn and touched the smooth wood with lingering fingers. In that unspoken reassurance, she found the courage to carry onward. For even as she departed at sunrise, the inn's gift remained, nestled in the quiet of her pack, a reminder that unseen kindnesses may journey farther than any traveler. Along the corridor, the washerwoman carried fresh linen, its scent sweet as new beginnings. At the door of the family chamber, a small child tugged at her skirts, eyes wide with curiosity. The washerwoman knelt, and the child nestled into her arms, soft laughter weaving between them. The linen was held close, clean, soft, brushed by sun, and through its embrace, the child felt the care of gentle hands. In that moment, the washerwoman realized the threads of her own labor were more than cloth. They offered comfort lifted on the simplest human warmth. As afternoon light waned toward dusk, a scholar arrived, a quiet man weighed by thought, carrying scrolls and books from a distant abbey. He rested at a corner table with dim lanterns casting long shadows across parchment. The chamberlain brought him a cup of honeyed mead and inquired if he needed silence or conversation. The scholar paused, then whispered, "Just this moment of quiet." So the chamberlain retreated, leaving space. In return, the scholar closed his eyes in appreciation and allowed ink to glide again upon vellum. His writing carried soft rhythms, inspired by the inn's measured heartbeat. In this shared silence, resilience bloomed in mutual respect of solitude, and of transparent kindness. Night deepened, and the common room carried only the hushed murmur of low voices and the crackle of embers. A family huddled in one corner, whispering stories around a modest candle. A group of merchants, safely past their day's trials, passed around homemade cheese and fresh fruit, their tones soft. Even the innkeeper allowed himself a moment of rest, leaning against the wood of the bar, watching the harmony of these unhurried exchanges, each gift of small comfort, each glance of gratitude, weaving into a tapestry of shared survival. Later, the wash of plates ended, and the scullery lay empty. The cook and washerwoman stepped out into the courtyard, and together they traced the path of the moonlight spilling across cobblestone. They paused beneath a silent arch, listening to the faint rustle of leaves in the wind, fingertips brushing against cool stone. They shared no words, only that deep sigh of satisfaction that comes at day's end when every task has found its place. And as they retreated indoors, the inn seemed to sigh, as though it too rested. Before the final lights were extinguished, the stable boy made one last sweep around the courtyard, gathering straw and smoothing the ground. In the hush, he paused to listen to the inn's pulse. A candle guttering, soft wood settling, slow breath of sleeping guests. He felt his own breath soften, and beneath the quiet dome of roof and stars offered a silent blessing that tomorrow these gentle rhythms would awaken again, heralding new moments of care and resilience woven in minimal gestures. In the small hours, a lone guest rose, an aging traveler preparing for an early departure. Instead of the usual clatter, he gathered his belongings softly, pausing at the door to look back at the glowing hearth. He stepped outside and pressed his palm to the stable wall, imprinting gratitude on worn stone. His horse waited quietly, reins loose, as if bowing in soft farewell. He mounted, nudged the animal forward, and in the pale promise of pre-dawn, they moved away. In their silence, the innkeeper stirred, curious. Then he resumed his rest, as life's quiet purpose held fast. Soon, the inn itself breathed deep, its corridors empty, its elders silent. But in that silence lay deep resilience, the memory of kindnesses given and received, of small acts that cushioned hardship, of hospitality offered not in grand gestures, but in unassuming constancy. It was a resilience born not of triumph, but of tender, recurring compassion, a light that did not blaze, but glowed steadily through each dusk and dawn. As dawn once more softed the edges of the courtyard, the inn exhaled into a new day ready again for quietly weaving refuge. And here, dear listener, you too are invited into the soft heart of this place, carried by the gentle stories of hope, care, and calm. You are welcome to let these quiet images fill your mind as you drift into the realm where resilience is born, not from grand deeds, but from the whisper of hands that steady, of voices that soothe, and of hearts that understand. And so, dear listener, the quiet bustle of the medieval inn has begun to settle at last. Embers dance low in the hearth, their gentle glow flickering across the rough-hewn beams overhead. The walls, once alive with laughter, hushed conversations, and the clink of tankards, now hold only the soft hush of retreating footsteps and the slow sigh of contentment. The air, still warm from a day's worth of cooking and quiet discourse, carries the familiar sense of straw, wood, and well-used linen, comforts woven into the very fabric of these walls. Imagine, if you will, the common room now emptied of most travelers, save perhaps one lone guest lingering by the fire, eyes half closed in reflection. The scarred wooden table where mugs of ale once clinked together now remains quietly bare, its surface marked by rings and scratches that tell their own gentle story. Somewhere nearby, the cook gathers the last embers into a bed of cool ash, soft sparks drifting upward before fading as dusk has fully claimed the sky beyond shuttered windows. In the corridor leading to the guest chambers, lanterns stand guard in pressed brass holders, their flames reduced to quiet pinpricks of light. These faint spots guide the chamberlain as she checks each room in turn, ensuring that blankets are smoothed, the hearths but slightly warm, just enough to ward off the night's chill, and that every window latch holds firm against the whispering winds. She moves with slow assurance, each step measured and gentle, as though pacing a lullaby that will cradle sleepy minds. Behind each door, slumber has likely already begun to fold itself around the occupants, drawing tight the soft wool blankets and straw-stuffed pillows beneath tired heads. Reflecting now on the tapestry of this place, every wooden post, every stone threshold that bears the weight of countless footsteps, one sees the inn as more than mere shelter. It has been a keeper of stories and a cradle for weary bodies. Youths laden with ambition, merchants heavy with wares, pilgrims bearing dreams of distant shrines. All have passed through, and in that passage have left traces of human warmth. Each day repeated the same gentle rhythms of welcome, a bowl of pottage, the murmured greeting of the innkeeper, the quiet offering of a lit candle for the night. In turn, the inn offered rest, freshness, respite, and sometimes a soft thread of companionship woven between strangers drawn together in a shared moment of respite. As you lie here, in the quiet that follows the stories, consider how the hearth's glow has softened both wood and stone, just as time softens memory. Chairs once sat upon now lean patiently in their corners, as though resting themselves. The stable yard beyond, abandoned to silence, holds only the gentle rustle of hay left for the morning's horses, and the distant echo of hoofbeats already calm and at peace. Even outside, the moon's gentle arc traces its path across the sky, turning the half-finished tasks of lumber chopping, door bar locking, and fire stoking into mere silhouettes in the night. There is a gentle magic in this late hour, a soft harmony born of closure. The day's warmth has given way to night's embrace, and with it comes a release. The clang of the day's diligence, of tankards, chopping cleavers, hooves, laughter, now tempered into a smoother, more forgiving cadence. Footfalls fade, voices lower. Even the hearth's last crackles seem to whisper, "All is well. You may rest." Now, as the inn settles, imagine yourself in a bed covered with soft linens, far from the cold. Feel the warmth that lingers in the room and wrap gently around your shoulders. Hear only the faint sigh of the wind, a lullaby shaped by centuries of soft nights. Sense the peace in every corner, as if the walls themselves breathe a weary but contented exhale. You are safe in this space, a moment apart from all rush and worry, as if wrapped in a memory of home. This is how in life ended each day, not with fanfare or flourish, but with the simple dignity of routine, tucked in like a soothing blanket. By candlelight, the innkeeper makes a final walk through the common room, smoothing a stray tapestry, folding back a chair, ensuring that tomorrow's bustle will arise from a place of calm. The stable hands, finished for the night, stride toward their own quiet rooms, boots soft on the straw-strewn floor, each movement a testament to the fullness of a day's labor. Outside, the door is bolted with care, and the silent promise of morning's unlocking left in the lock's turn. There is something profoundly gentle in this transition from activity to quiet, from crowded warmth to one-on-one calm. It mirrors the slow exhale of your own breathing as you listen. In this moment, the world outside the inn fades, whether that world is decades past or whatever moment follows your closing of eyes tonight. You are here, cradled by the lull of hearth and night, the promise of rest held in the slow, steady hum of human kindness. Allow your mind to mimic this. With each breath, follow the rhythm of the night. Inhale a sense of calm, exhale any remaining tension. Inhale peace. Exhale the last fragility of the day. Let the echoes of the inn's gentle routines wash over you, guiding your pulses to soften, your thoughts to drift into the quiet space between. You do not need to travel anywhere else tonight. Your journey has been offered through these descriptions, slow and nurturing. Recognize the simplicity of these rituals, lighting a lantern, laying fresh straw, smoothing a woolen blanket, offering bread and broth. They were the small acts that carried the weight of travelers' fatigue. They were the gestures that joined strangers in warmth. And just as those gestures closed each day in gentle grace, so can this moment be your own closing. Let each detail, the must of wood smoke, the lean of a beam overhead, the shine of a brass latch, cradled in your mind, lull you further until only warmth remains. Should your thoughts wander, perhaps to tomorrow or past tasks, picture yourself folding them like a parchment and placing them gently on the inn's common table. They may remain there until dawn. For now, they stay in the soft glow of night. Here, nothing aches. Here, no hurry stamps across the floor. Here, good rest is the only task left. The inn has lulled to sleep. The hearth's last warmth circulates, settling into walls and benches alike. The final lantern has been dimmed. Outside, the sky stretches, endless and observant, but without hurry. And inside, silence reigns not in harshness, but in depth. A questioning absence into which your mind may sink, rest, and dream. The day's rhythms have ended. The night's promise lies before you. Feel the blanket of peace enfold your thoughts as the inn does its guests. Let your body weigh soft against a mattress made to welcome sleep. In this ease, know that you are supported by centuries of quiet hospitality, by the memory of gentle hands, and by the simple, age-old art of rest. Let your heart beat slow to match the measured pace of this evening world. As the final loops of breath cycle through you, anticipate their next repetition. A deeper exhale, a calmer inhalation. Let your chest soften. Let your mind become a slate wiped clean of the busy day. Within this serene backroom realm, the innkeeper's kindness is your lullaby. The chambermaid's quiet closing of shutters is your signal that the world may now dream. Even the stable's silent hay is a pillow laid for your peace. Now, as I prepare to leave you in this evening hush, carry with you the gentle image of the inn's empty common room. The chairs tucked in, the hearth's glow dim, the lens of oil in the lamp reduced to a steady pulse. Carry the still warmth of a well-worn blanket, fresh but not crisp, holding the shape of another's gentle rest. Carry the knowledge that this place, built long ago, stands testament to giving space for fatigue to soften into ease, as will you tonight. Let your eyelids drift. Let your mind follow the path of those soft steps, once echoing here. Calm, measured, considered. Let your ears hear the last sigh of straw in the bedroll, and let your heart glow with the small lantern beam of human care, the soft touch of kindness, the gentlest lullaby that quiet offering can provide. Now in this hush, I offer you one final wish as you cross into sleep's deeper realms. May your dreams be as kind as the inn's welcome. May your rest be calm as the embers dwindle in their hearth. And as the world outside whispers on, may you remain cocooned in peace until morning's light calls you to wake again. Thank you, dear listener, for sharing this moment of stillness. Thank you for letting the tale of this medieval inn guide your breath and steer your mind into rest. Accept this good night as an echo of the innkeeper's own softly spoken benediction, offered only in tones of care, warmth, and quiet affection. Good night.